Welcome. You know, if you're learning English, there's a good chance you've been a little confused by three tiny words, a, an, and the. They're small, but they can be a real headache. Well, today, we're going to fix that. Think of this as getting the keys to unlock fluent, natural-sounding English. Let's solve this puzzle together.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. I call this the article puzzle because that's really what it feels like, right? You have these tiny little word pieces, and knowing where they fit is everything. When you get it right, your English sounds smooth and clear. But when a piece is in the wrong spot, the whole sentence can just sound, well, a little off.
And here they are, the three main pieces of our puzzle: a, an, and the. They look so simple, don't they? But the magic isn't in the words themselves. It's in how they work together to point to things, to introduce ideas, and to make our sentences make sense.
So what is an article, officially? Well, think of it like a signpost you put right in front of a noun. It's a little signal for your listener that says, hey, pay attention. Are we talking about any old cat, or are we talking about that specific cat that we both know? They're your guides to clarity.
I really like this way of thinking about it. Articles are like bridges. They create a smooth connection from one idea to the next. They're kind of like the essential glue that makes English sentences sound natural and connected. Without them, things just feel clunky and disconnected.
All right, let's grab the first tool for our toolkit. These are the indefinite articles, and an. Super common, and you use them when you're talking about something in general, not a specific one. This is your go-to tool for introductions.
Okay, now listen up, because this is the absolute golden rule for a and an. If you remember one thing, make it this. It is always, always about the sound a word starts with, not the letter. Honestly, this one little secret solves about 90% of the mistakes people make.
And here's that rule in action. It's pretty straightforward, right? We use an "and" before a vowel sound, like in an apple. We use a before a consonant sound, like a banana. But look at that second example, a university. The letter is U, which is a vowel. But what's the sound? Ya, university. That ya is a consonant sound, and that's why it's a university. Tricky, huh?
Let's just listen to it one more time. An apple. Hear that open ah sound? That's a vowel sound. Now, a banana. Hear the b sound your lips make? That's a consonant sound. Once you start listening for the sound instead of just looking at the letter, this gets so much easier.
So, when do you actually use them? Well, it boils down to three main situations. First, when you're talking about someone's job. She is a doctor. Second, when you mention something for the very first time. I saw a movie last night. You're introducing it. And third, when you mean one of many. Can I have an orange, meaning any orange from the bowl will do.
Okay, tool number one is down. Let's move on to our next one. This is the definite article. And if a and an were your general tools, the is your precision tool. This is what you use when you need to get specific. I want you to think of the word the as a spotlight. When you say a car, you're talking about any car. But when you say the car, bam! The spotlight comes on and points to one single specific car that both you and the person you're talking to know about. No more guessing.
So the two biggest uses are right here. First, when something is obvious to everyone in the conversation. If we're in a room and I say, please close the door, you're not going to ask which door. You know I mean the only one right there. And second, we use it for things that are totally unique. There's only one of them in the world, or at least in our world. Things like the sun, the sky, the internet.
Now, the also has some special patterns that are just, well, they're rules you gotta learn. We always use it with musical instruments. You don't just play guitar, you play the guitar. We use it for big geographical features like rivers and oceans, the Amazon, the Pacific Ocean. And it's almost always there with superlatives, words like best, biggest, fastest. It's not just best pizza, it's the best pizza. Okay, we've talked about a, an, and the, but now it's time for the expert level move, the final tool in your kit, and it's an invisible one. It's knowing when to use no article at all. We call this the zero article. Yeah, you heard me right. Sometimes the most correct, most natural-sounding choice is to just say nothing. This is the zero article. And I know this can feel really weird, especially if your native language always uses an article. But mastering this invisible tool is a surefire sign of fluency in English. So where does this invisible article hide? Well, first, when you're talking about big, general ideas, you'd say water is essential, not the water is essential. Second, with most proper names, like people, cities, and countries. I live in London. Simple. And finally, in a ton of everyday life phrases. You don't say, let's have the dinner, you just say, let's have dinner. You don't play the football, you play football. See?
Phew! Okay, that was a lot, I know. But you did it. You've officially built your complete article toolkit. You've got your general tool, your precision tool, and even your expert-level invisible tool. So let's just do a super quick review to lock it all in place. Here it is, your ultimate cheat sheet. It's this simple. Use a or an when you're introducing one non-specific thing. Use the when you're putting a spotlight on a specific thing. And use the zero article, nothing at all, when you're talking about general ideas and most proper names. That's the core of it right there.
And that's really it. You now have the essential patterns, the mental toolkit you need to use English articles with confidence. But remember, knowing the rules is just step one. The real magic happens when you practice. Start listening for articles when people talk. Look for them when you read. The more you notice them, the more natural it will become.
So, you've got the whole toolkit now, you're ready to go. My only question for you is this. Which one of these tools are you going to focus on today? Will it be A and N, the specific the, or are you going to try the expert level zero article? Pick one and give it a try.